Good morning. Good morning. I'm back. Yes. Sorry about yesterday, but yesterday turned out to be a rather expensive day for me. My wife's car broke down on her way to work, so I ended up having to pick her up and taking her to work and getting her car towed to the mechanic. And while I was there, because I had to stay there with her, because they to see what was going on with it to in order to figure out where I was going to get the money to pay from for it. It turned around that it's like, oh well, while you're here, your truck is due for an oil change. Oh, okay. While I'm waiting on the estimate on my wife's car, go ahead and change the oil. Then they come up and hey, Mr. Shroom, did you know you've got a leak in your power steering line? No. Well, yeah, and by the looks of it, every time you turn left, you were pumping power steering fluid on the ground. That's not good. Now, I don't know if power steering fluid is flammable or not. I'm not a. I'm going to assume that at some point or another it can become flammable. But you know, still, you don't want your power steering pump to go bad, and if it runs out of fluid and you keep running it, you got worm gears and such in there that will eventually wear it out and cause it to go bad. And power steering pumps are not exactly really cheap, especially in vehicles that are almost 20 years old. So, all right, go ahead and get that done. Total bill that I had to pay yesterday just at the mechanics, just on my truck, was 700 and some odd dollars. Well, we'll just call it 700 bucks. That wasn't, The wife's car got that fixed. By the time they got my truck fixed, they got her car fixed, and it was only $350 for her car. So there's $1,000, boom, gone. Well, by the time I got home from that, it was almost 1 o'clock, and I had a 3 o'clock vet's appointment for the dog. Take him to the vet because he's one of these dogs that likes to go out and chew things. And when he's out chewing, and he likes to, pick up, we've got his chew toys for him to chew on while he's outside and inside. Well, he found a stick somewhere the other day and was chewing on it. When I say stick, I mean a branch off of a tree. Uh, we try to keep those picked up out of the yard when we see them because of just that fact. Why, good morning, Dar.
Boy, sorry I'm late. What am I
Uh,
missing?
Not much, just going over yesterday's fiasco.
Oh, I don't know what
Thousand
that
dollars
was.
at $1,000 at the mechanics for between
Oh, yeah.
the wife. I take my truck in for got my wife to work. Picked her car broke down on the way to work, so I had to take her to work, then come back and go over to the mechanics with her car. And while I was there, it's like, okay, go ahead and do the oil change I had scheduled for next week. If so they do my oil change, and then turns around, I got a leak in the power steering line. So that was $700 there. Get her car fixed is only $350, but still, that's $1,000 out the window. Then my dog, he's chewing on a tree branch that he found in the yard. So but he hasn't been eating since. He hasn't eaten any food really since then. So we made an appointment to get him in to see the vet, and he had a problem there was he'd gotten a splinter up in his gums. That's why he wasn't eating.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was another $350 for the vet. So morning was shot getting the cars, getting vehicles fixed, and the afternoon was shot getting the dog fixed. And almost $1,400 out the window. And really, you know, I got a dog that's eating and two vehicles running. What can I say? But so what's new in your life today?
Nothing.
And so what's up with the Knight Rider logo?
Oh, that was for Friday. We were talking
Oh,
about action shows.
okay. Well, speaking of Friday, which coming up tomorrow,
Yeah, that
um,
is manana.
yeah, and
Manana.
I am not going to be able to honor the. I will not be able to host the stream tomorrow.
Oh, that
My
sucks.
my wife is having got notified yesterday. She needs to have surgery tomorrow.
Oh, what kind of surgery is she getting if that's not too personal? And if it is, tell me to go away.
Let's just keep that until we find out more about what's going on.
Okay, that's fine.
You know, don't know exactly what's going. Could be some. It could be nothing. It could be minor, or it could be deadly serious.
Ooh.
So that it's that biopsies and this other kind of crap.
Yeah. Yeah. Been
So
through that myself.
you
Time or
know,
two.
and they they told us her GP, she had a physical on Monday, and the GP called us yesterday and said she needed it. He'd had got in contact with people and got it all set up for her having this surgery on tomorrow. So,
Yeah.
and it's scheduled for 8:30 in the morning, I believe. So I am going to be sitting at the hospital. Good morning, Dr. Frankenstein, or Funkenstein. I'm sorry. I don't have my
Yeah,
glasses
Dr.
on.
Funkenstein.
But so, just a little bit of housekeeping there, you, if you want, Dara, I will post you the stuff I've got for the movies that we didn't cover last week.
Or you mean TV shows?
Yeah, the TV shows.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, a ton of
Uh,
them there.
all right, I'll send you that file that if you want to look at it. That
Yeah, sure.
because we didn't cover all the ones that I had pulled up. Or you guys can just do what you want, do your own thing tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'll
well,
I'll just be listening.
yeah. Now,
Okay.
I'm thinking, yeah, with that might be the way it goes. I don't know. I've
I,
not spoken to Ramen,
yeah. Or
so
I'll just be listening on my phone,
there you go. So we'll have to
chewing
entertain you.
chewing up my data plan because I doubt if the hospital will be having an open internet. Hospitals don't like to
Yeah,
do that. So,
yeah. Someday they do.
uh, so anyway, one page, you know, um, the Biden administration has really fallen down here on this East Palestine mess and that train
Uh,
wreck. And it's gotten so bad that even some of the major news streams, news carriers, as liberals they are starting to been starting to raise a few questions about their handling of the whole thing. So what do you think the Biden administration does? Do you think that they pop out and say, "Hey, yeah, we were a little bit slow, but we're on the ball now," or B, "It ain't our fault"?
Well, of course they're going to say it's not their fault, but the other thing is too is, um, you know, Buttigieg, um, he is so incompetent that he doesn't want to face the music.
Yep, that's true too. Well, they've actually carried it even farther than that. White House spokesman Andrew Bates accused the Trump administration and Republicans of Congress of selling East Palestine out to the railroad industry lobbyists and called on the GOP to work cross aisle with us to put the Obama Biden protections back in place. And they've even demanded that Trump and his administration officials apologize. In other words, accept full responsibility for what happened.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
No. Um, One of the things that I saw on one of the news channels last night, that train, there, the brakes were overheating for miles
Yeah,
before it got to East Palestine and had the train wreck, and it did what it did. The uh, the what was reported was that either the train's warning systems weren't working, or the engineers, the crew of the train, shut off the warning system or just ignored it altogether. Because I would imagine any warning system like that about your brakes not working properly would have, some noise. Uh, it wouldn't be just a little flashing light on a panel. There'd be some sort of a noise to go with it. At least you would think so.
yeah, you would
Because
think.
brakes on a train are rather important. Banks referenced Trump's decision to nix an Obama era proposal that would have required stronger brakes on trains carrying hazardous materials. Well, when the brakes are overheating and the engineers or the crew ignore the warnings, or they're not getting the warnings, that's that doesn't matter how strong the brakes are.
Yep.
The strength of the brakes had nothing to do with this. They've actually got uh, the equivalent of FLIR uh, footage
Yeah.
of that train where you can see the brakes are white hot. So anyway, yeah, the Biden administration is really doing everything they can to avoid this. And and he is catching a lot of flack. Biden, of course, catching a lot of flack for traveling all the way to Ukraine instead of traveling the 200 and what 50, 60 miles from
Yeah.
DC to Ohio. Hey, good morning, Ramen.
Is ramen here?
Yeah, she's sitting over there in chat.
Well, good morning, ramen.
So, hey, any subjects are fair game for today because yesterday was so screwed up that I had little time to do too much as far as preparing for today. So anyway,
Hmm.
uh, there she is. Took you 20 minutes to find
Oh,
your headset.
Yes, and it was exactly where I put it in a nice dark spot that blends perfectly with it so I'd never see it without my glasses. So,
ah,
You found it where you put it.
yes, my nefarious plans worked against me. Yes. They are childproof. Yes. My
Hey,
kids
Spoonie.
enjoy the good headset, so.
I don't understand how you guys can wear those on your heads. I mean, I had to do it for 20 years when I was in the service. Well, 17 years when I was in the service. Every time we went out to work, you had to wear ear protections.
Right.
And I
Um,
mean, I just hate putting anything on like that over my ears anymore.
okay, these are not as like sweaty clam like as other headsets. The weight's a little, but I got used to it. It's not that big of a deal. And I only wear them when I'm actually in a stream. The rest of the time I've had the old Logitech headset with no mic on them, so
Uh, that's why I love this new mic headset my wife got me for a Christmas present because it doesn't go. Oh, I mean, it's the bone induction with the microphone on the side,
yeah. Mhm.
and uh, everybody says it sounds really good. So,
It does.
yeah, it does. Sounds
and
fine.
so I don't have anything plopped over top of my head or covering up my ears.
Covering up my ear
It's
thing is fine.
it's
I really
wonderful.
there's some though that's like an actual freaking cup over your ear and it's all full of like rubber or whatever. I can't
Right.
stand those. You know what I'm talking about. It's like they
Yes,
fucking
I
clamp over
do.
your ears, and I can't stand that. These fit exactly over my ears, but they're not like all rubbery and heavy, and it's fine. Everything's fine.
We used to take, you know, and Dar will acknowledge this fact. Pranks in the military are the lifeblood of the
They
enlisted,
are.
Uh oh.
and we would take different types of lubricants and cover people's headsets and mouthpieces with them.
Oh.
And I mean, y'all have seen the deal where somebody put grease on a pair of binoculars and the guy's eyes that had the black rings around them.
Oh.
Put shoe polish on them or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Well,
horrible.
imagine that around both ears and then in a triangle shaped thing around your mouth.
Ew.
All right. And it would be some sort of a airframe grease, wheel
Jeez.
bearing grease or something like that. Sometimes even used, not even fresh out of the can.
Oh no.
We had a we had a pilot that nobody really cared for,
Um.
and he had a bad habit of coming out and grabbing somebody's headsets off their toolbox and putting them on rather than bringing his own, which of course means the person that had brought those up in out to the line with him would have to run in and get another set for him or have a set borrowed, borrow a set or have a set brought out to him. Well, we'd gotten a call that this guy pilot was on his way out to this one particular jet, and the crew chief had a thing of old nasty grease there, so he lubed up the EPs and the mouthpiece. And that damn pilot put that stuff on, didn't even think about it, and had that nasty old wheel bearing grease all over his ears and in his hair, and
Hey, mom.
got- He was one of them guys that, most people when they put on their headsets, they pull the pieces out and swing over their head. He was one of those guys who just pulled it down across the top of his head. So he had the grease streaks all down his hair and everything else. Yeah. He was not a happy camper, but he tried to get the crew chief in trouble for that. And the commander said, "Well, did he hand you the headset to put on?" "Well, no." "Did you just walk out and grab the headsets off his toolbox?" "Yeah." "Then
Oh,
what's the
there you
problem?
go.
You know, those weren't your headsets and can't help you." But the word come down that we weren't ever allowed to do that. The next part that he got away with it, but nobody else would.
Uh,
There would not be a second happening of such a prank on a pilot.
wow.
So, but
So, speaking of pranks, like one of the most common ones that we would do is get a new guy on the ship, right? We'd send him all over the ship looking for shit that doesn't exist.
mhm.
Like things like, hey, go down to the engineering department and get a bucket of steam and stuff like that, right? So, because there is no
Right.
such thing, right? Or
Right.
go get me a foot of water line, whatever the case may be. The reason why that was done was not only was it fun just to send these guys all over the place, right? Looking for this stuff, but the other part was it got them really familiar with the ship really quickly.
Oh wow.
So there was good to it as well, but it was fun. And like one of my favorite ones, I would send especially guys I didn't really care for. I'd send them down to the main engine room and say, "Hey, get a BT punch." So he'd walk down there and go, "Hey, I need a BT punch." And of course, these um, boiler techs, right, that work down on those sweaty, hot, dark holes. They punch you punch you right square in the chest when you ask for one. That was kind of funny. Yeah, all those pranks, man. Those were the days.
I haven't done many, but I had a friend who was an identical twin. Well,
Uh-huh.
actually, I was friends with both of them. And one year we convinced one of them, his brother was in on it, that he was actually a triplet. It was, yeah, it was really awkward in his household for a while, but we were like, just ask dad, he'll tell you. And he's like, it was just a really weird situation for a few weeks till he figured it out. So, we were like, yeah, him, his brother, and I were talking. It was, and we were pretending we thought we were in private conversation. We're like, yeah, your dad really should have kept the other one. I think it's a little too late to do the exchange now, but. And then he heard it and lost his shit. It was kind of fun.
Mm. Yeah, we would send guys if we didn't like the guy, we would give him a trash bag and
Oh
send him
no.
out on an engine run and tell him to stand behind the jet and collect the exhaust so we could send it in
Oh
for sampling.
Jesus!
Yeah.
You guys are fucking awful. So on these little ventures you'd send people on, how long did it take them to figure out they've been fucked with?
It depends.
Yeah.
So,
The
like,
really slow ones could take hours.
yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah. And
beautiful.
then also it depends on how much other people played along. Like, because I worked in supply, right? So whenever we get a new engineer or a new whatever, they would come up to supply. They would come down to my office, right? And one guy was like, I need 5 foot of water line, and I said, well, where's your 1250? Where's your documents? You have to have documents for this. And so what I would do is I would say, you need to go see this guy and get the right documents. And then, so I'd send them somewhere else. And then if everybody played along, you could keep them going for a couple hours easy.
Oh my god, that's
Oh yeah.
horrible.
Our supply
Just
guys we would vortex generator fluid. The vortex generator on the F-15 is just a piece of metal attached to the airframe above the missiles to create a vortex to push the missile away from the jet. That's all it is, just a chunk of metal. But we tell them we need a vortex generator fluid and send them out for that. And our supply guys eventually made up a bottle and put soapy water in it and labeled it as vortex generator fluid. Of course, there's that mile of flight line. We need, a couple yards of flight line.
Yeah.
Keys to the aircraft. Pilot would show up. We'd have this arranged in advance. Pilot would show up and, hey, I forgot my keys. Left them sitting on the duty desk. And send the new guy over to ops. Well, of course, ops would be in on it. And they tell him, well, we don't have it at the duty desk. Maybe it's back at life support. Life support people would be going in there because that's where the pilots hung all their flight gear. Send them all, just, of course, though, at this point, though, again, like Dar said, they would learn where the supply section was, where where everything was where you have to go and do business eventually at one time or another. So in a way, it was a good thing.
Yeah, it wasn't totally a bad thing all the time.
But once it happened to us, because it happened to me when I was a young troop. And after a while, though, you're more glad to pass that tradition down the line to the next young troop.
Yes, always.
One of my first trainers, he would, when you change out parts on aircraft, you have to have serial. Every part in the military has a serial number on it. I swear, if they could figure out a way of putting a serial number on screws, they would.
Yeah.
And everything is serially controlled. You want to know where a particular part is. They want to be able to punch it, that serial number in the computer, and it would tell them exactly where it's at. Anywhere in the world. And so we'd be walking back in off the flight line. And I'm in training. And my trainer would say, all right, what was the serial number on the parts we installed on that jet? You installed them. I was just on the ground handing them up to you. Yeah, but you were supposed to get the serial numbers. And of course, he'd wait till we got all the way back to the shop. He said, well, you need to grab a ladder and run back out to the flight line and get it off the jet again. Grab a ladder, run all the way back out, write down the serial numbers, run all the way back in. He had the numbers. And he'd have all the paperwork done, be sitting there drinking a Coke waiting on me to come back in. This is, out in Arizona, out in Phoenix. And, 100 degrees outside. And rather than give me time to sit down and cool off for a minute and grab a Coke of my own, okay, time to go to the next job. Didn't take me too long to remember to start writing down all the numbers. I was a bit slow. It took me 2 or 3 times of that happening. But yeah, you do things like that to make people learn to do things the correct way. Know where everything's at. What's the worst pranks you ever pulled there on someone, Ramen? She's still dealing with her youngins. What else? What other kind of stuff did you guys do, Dar?
Sorry.
Oh. No, no need, no need.
Yeah, I sorry. They're all just in and out. It's breakfast time. So
Ah,
I think the worst thing I did was when I was 11. I'm going for mental trauma here. So
okay. Mental trauma is
um
always fun.
okay, so my best girlfriend at the time, we got stuck the whole summer watching her little brother, and it happened the previous year, so we knew what was going to happen. He was like 6 or 7 at the time.
Right.
So he had his mom's hair. He was like the spoiled baby of the family. And so he had his like mom's hair color, whatever. And we took, well, first thing we he was allergic to garlic. So we had him over at my house for Sunday dinner, and we put a lot of garlic in the sauce. A lot.
Oh no.
Wait, just wait for it. Um, so he started itching a little, and we said, "Oh my God, we forgot." And we acted like this big deal, and we told him we pulled him aside and we said, "We're sorry you got the family curse." And he's like, "What?" He said, "Well, the reason you're allergic to garlic is you're becoming a vampire." Okay, so he started crying a little bit. He's like, "That means I'm dead. I don't want to die." And I'm like, we're all, well, it's gonna be okay. We're gonna go through the family Bible and try to see if there's a note in it about it, or we're gonna help you with this. So so his
Hello.
sister's like, "I hope it doesn't go much further. We'll have to stake you." And he's like, "I'm gonna tell mom." And we're like, "You can't tell your mother because she'll just stake you immediately, like your brother." We had a theme with making up fake siblings that didn't exist. I don't know. I think this was the
Oh,
first time we done it.
oh, we used to
So
do that too.
yeah, it's a great thing to see the look on their face for like the first 5 minutes. But he's like, my brother. We're like, yeah, the oldest. He would be probably about 13 right now. And he's like, well, what happened? Well, he was the first vampire. So yeah. So this, and we're like, we gotta keep it a secret from your mom though. He really wanted nothing to do with us the whole summer. It was great, but we had to up the ante because he was getting used to it. So we got his mom's hairbrush and we got some of her hair out of it and chopped it up and put it on his pillow. And he wakes up and he's like, "What is?" While he was sleeping, obviously, we'd put on his pillow and he wakes up and he's like, "What's happening?" And she puts her hand on his shoulder, and I think this is where we went too far. And she's like, and she just looks at him and she leans down and looks in his little face and she's like, "Oh, I see the shedding is upon you." Yeah, I
Oh
think that's kind of,
no.
yeah. I still remember. And yeah, yeah, it didn't. I think that was the last straw, and we took it too far there because he cried every time his mom was around. Yeah, yeah. It was because he was waiting for her to pull out like a steak or something, or cut off his head. Because we discussed all the ways to kill a vampire, so he would be prepared because he was becoming a man, and all. Yeah, no, bad.
Oh,
He
that's
still hasn't forgiven us. I don't know why. It was so long ago,
Yeah, well, some people just hold things longer than they need to.
right? Anyway, yeah.
really, Doc. Yeah, you look that much like your dad, huh? That's that's family traits, man. I don't look anything like my dad looked, but you know. Oh, let's see here. Let's see what else. Let's see. Now I know Dar's old enough to remember Gerald Ford, and remember him as president. How about you, Raman? Do you remember? Uh, Ford. Anyway, Ford was he blamed it on a bad knee from his football days in college and such, but he took a stumble down an airplane, down these stairs one day, and Chevy Chase over at this is back when Saturday Night Live was actually kind of humorous.
It never was, but okay.
So back in the early days, Saturday Night Live had some good stuff. You know, I mean, even I laughed at a bunch of their stuff back in the early days. I mean, Jim, the Belushi with him dressed up as a bumblebee or doing the Japanese or Chinese restaurant
Oh
skits.
yeah,
Okay, I mean they had some, and Jane, you ignorant slut.
Jane Curtin.
Yeah,
Okay.
Chevy Chase calling Jane an ignorant slut.
Oh yeah.
Okay, as part of their news. And then there was the church lady.
I never really like the first couple times. It was cool, but after that, I don't know.
Oh wow, man, you're a danger. Anyway, I'm talking to Dr. Funkenstein's ghost.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had to come back to the desk so I see what I'm doing
Oh,
here.
to make it worse, I am the only one of my siblings to favor my father, and I'm the child that destroyed his marriage with my sibling's mother. I am the simulacron, not the clone. No,
Um,
you are just dangerous.
wow.
Now,
Okay.
now we did crap to cousins and such out on the farms.
Right.
But they returned the favor. Like my one cousin, his father had about 1,000 beehives,
Oh no.
and we'd go out with them every year and help gather in the honey.
Okay.
And we got paid in honey and honeycombs and beeswax. That was our pay for doing it. We never had
Okay.
to buy sugar
Oh,
unless
nice.
I mean a 5 pound bag of sugar would last us 2, 3, 4 months, depending on what kind of baking my mom was doing. But for our cereal in the morning, we used honey. You want a cup of tea, hot tea, you used honey. I mean, honey was the sweetener that we grew up with. That we would be given gallons of honey every year,
Aw.
and pounds of beeswax and pounds of honeycomb. And the difference between honeycomb and beeswax is honeycomb still has some honey in it, so we use that as chewing gum.
Oh, wow.
Okay, beeswax, like when my mom was sewing anything by hand, like repairing socks or something like that, she would thread up her needle to run her needle through the beeswax, run the
Oh,
needle and
cool.
thread. So it would go through the material a lot easier and actually and kept the thread from breaking. And in the long run, it kept the repair because that wax would sort of melt into the material around it, so it made it that much stronger. Good stuff, good stuff. But my cousins, they would bring bees to or send you out near some beehives that my uncle maybe had brought in for because the bees were sick and he wanted to get them away from the rest of the hives or something. And then, hey, why don't you go over there and catch that and get this for us? And then here's all these damn bees. And you got no protection on you. And if you were lucky, you got away with only one or two bee stings. Fortunately, most of us weren't allergic to, none of us were allergic to bees. But yeah, you can get all kinds of trouble on farms doing that to cousins and such. But barn parties were always fun too growing up. That's another pleasure. Spend the having a barn party. Let's see here. What else? I've like I said, I really got nothing going, planned on for the day. I've got some political stories here, but anybody doesn't, if nobody wants to talk politics, I'm fine with that. We'll just make today a meandering stream. Nothing in particular. Have y'all seen? Did y'all hear about a Stallone movie? Uh, what was the name of that? Not Savior. Um,
Samaritan.
Samaritan. Yeah.
I have been wanting to see that. Did you see it already?
Yes.
Was it good?
Okay. It is a typical straight to DVD or video movie. All right.
Okay.
It is not a blockbuster by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a good. Dar probably wouldn't like it, but you probably would.
Okay. I'll pick that.
All right. It's a mind game movie all the way up to the end.
Oh.
Okay. But yeah, watch it and uh the I mean it's very small cast of characters, shot on the cheap, definitely shot on the cheap. And this is Stallone trying to be, his entry into the superhero movie genre.
It
So
works though. I read the description.
read it or watch it. Go ahead and watch it. It's Samaritan. Yeah, it's a good movie.
Okay.
Um, as, I mean, for being a non blockbuster, not a lot of money put into it. I mean, if they spent more than uh, $5 or $6 million on it, including his salary, I'd be surprised. It's not one of these $70 million movies.
Right.
Well, okay, they probably spent 15 million on it.
Okay.
Let me see. Let me see something. Where is? Okay. Let's see here. Stallone, S.A. Samaritan. Okay. Let's see. Find out how much it cost. COST. D. And it doesn't say how much it costs to make. All right, here we go. Samaritan Financials. Wow. Okay, let me pull this up. Let you see it. This is I've never seen this before on a movie. Okay. Domestic releases, international releases. August 26th,
Wow.
canceled. August 25th, canceled. August 25th, canceled. And let's see, United Artists, Australia, Denmark, Czech Republic, Germany, Norway, uh, Malaysia, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Spain, UK, Canceled. Wow. No box office at all.
Well, yeah, it was canceled.
No video, full financials. That is amazing.
I think there's probably going to be a lot of movies like that about that time, though. People really stopped going to movie theaters around then.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. Oh, okay. That is I've never seen that before on a movie having all those cancellations. That's outrageous. Uh, come back here. You can tell I'm lost here, Ramen.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm right
That's
there
all
with
right.
you.
Yeah, in case you didn't hear, I spent over $1,400 yesterday
Oh, in the car?
between the car and the dog, between both cars and the dog.
Wait, you didn't say anything about the dog, did you?
Today I did, yeah. My
Okay, I haven't.
the dog was chewing on a tree branch he found in the yard
Oh,
Sunday,
no.
and then he stopped eating and rubbing his muzzle and nose into the carpet. So I had to
Uh,
take him into the vet yesterday afternoon, and that was $350 for that.
how did they treat it? They just gave him some medicine or.
Now they found a splinter in his gums,
Oh,
so
well, at least it wasn't something worse.
yeah, it was. So they gave us some medicine, that he has to eat
Hmm.
or that he has to take, just to make certain that he didn't get any kind of poisoning. So that's all right. He gets it. Um, yeah, I'd really like to know how much that movie cost him to make, but there, I don't know. I watched the movie. I enjoyed it.
I keep meaning to watch it, but it just never happens. Like I'll
And
say,
it
let's watch this, and they'll say, no, we're watching this, bitch. And I'm like, okay, fine. I might have to watch that one alone. I haven't. I just, you know,
it
a
it's
hundred
not
million.
it's they spent 100 million on it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
I just googled it. How much did it cost to film The Samaritan? No, it's 100 million.
that's what I put in, and I didn't get it. I
Using
hate
Google.
Google. I
uh,
I hate Google sometimes. That's all right. That's okay. That's all right. That's all right, Mama.
uh,
the Let's see what else we got going on here. What else? What else is going on? Fun stuff.
I
Anything?
literally have nothing. I haven't
Uh,
left the house since I broke my foot, so
how much longer has that got to heal?
it'll heal when it heals. But I keep putting pressure on it to walk around and mop and sweep and vacuum and all that shit. And
Do they have you in a walking cast at least?
so doctors are for rich people, dude.
Oh,
Yeah. So I'll stay off my feet a few days, and then my kids will mess up the house, and then I have to bite the bullet and go clean up, and it starts swelling again, and I had this big red line across it for weeks. That's finally gone. So you know, and it stopped making that weird clicking sound when I tried to walk. So Yay.
So I imagine you're doing the ibuprofen by the bottle
Ibuprofen shuffle.
routine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The problem with this is that I'm okay during the day, but at night when I'm not like murder hugging my kids and doing stuff, and um, I notice the pain more at night, and I'm so fucking wide awake. I end up taking like double doses of allergy pills just to get a night's sleep. But they usually don't hit me till like 7 in the morning when I have to get up,
right.
no matter what time I take it. So yeah. But other than that, I'm doing great.
Oh, uh, yet yesterday afternoon. Oh, in the midst of all this other good stuff,
Tell me.
yesterday afternoon I had a doctor's appointment for to see my neurologist,
Right.
and they asked me has anything changed, yada yada yada, because I see him every 3 months.
Okay.
All right, and I said, well, can this issue I'm having cause me to just break out in a sweat for no reason? And he looked
Mm.
at me and said, yeah, I'll be sitting on the couch or sitting in my computer, and all of a sudden I break out in a sweat. I mean, and it's not just feeling warm, like as in I got sweat dripping off my nose and I'm soaking my t-shirt.
Some meds will do that.
And he just sort of looked at me, and I said, and my wife, she's and his uh, head nurse that comes around and does all of it, keeps track of everything for him.
Right.
She's sitting there and she gets this grin on her face. And I said, yeah, I know, I know. You're thinking the same thing my wife said to me.
Which
And
was?
and she looked at me. She's all but barely controlling her laughter, which was, now you know how I felt when I went through menopause.
Oh, not
I
helping.
and the nurse just, I mean, she couldn't hold it anymore. She almost fell off her chair laughing.
Uh,
She almost fell off her stool laughing at me. You know,
man.
and it was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember when my wife had the hot flashes and how
Oh.
miserable it made her.
So
Yeah.
did they figure out what your problem was?
Now they're prescribed another pill I gotta take every night,
Oh God.
so I gotta go pick them. It's ready for pickup at the pharmacy now. So I, when I'm done here, I gotta head down and pick it up.
Oh.
So, but yeah, I mean that's the weirdest feeling. I mean, just sitting there watching the TV or working on the computer, and boom, it's done. Hey, uh, doctor, you guys did makeup? Ooh. When like on New Year's Eve, when everybody's supposed to be staying up until midnight, and we had people that somebody'd fall asleep, particularly my younger brother.
Oh.
My older sister would grab the jar of peanut butter and put peanut butter between our toes.
Why? That is so weird.
For falling asleep when you weren't supposed to. You
Well,
were
at
supposed
least
to
she.
stay awake until midnight, so she'd put peanut butter on your toes.
Well, at least she wasn't taking your hand and putting in a pan of warm water.
That's true. Now, when I was active duty and working third shift, you'd always have somebody fall asleep eventually.
Oh.
Sitting inside, you didn't have anything to do, or they didn't have anything to do. They'd be sitting there and they'd fall asleep. Well, we'd break out the magic markers to draw on their
Oh
face.
God.
And of course, being military, being a bunch of guys, what's the first thing we're going to draw on somebody's forehead?
Dick.
Penis.
Dick's till the end of time.
What's that? What was that, Dar?
The same thing as ramen.
Piece of
Oh,
penis. Yeah.
Yeah. Big, big
morning,
old,
Badger.
with big old hairy balls.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Well, we had this one ECS troop, environmental controls,
Okay.
that he rarely had work to do. I mean, he could knock out his jobs that he had usually within an hour or so. then he'd be done for the night. And he was also the guy that mixed. Remember the old Doral cigarette makers where you could make your own cigarettes? Well, he'd
Yeah.
mix a little bit of weed into his
Oh,
tobacco and then go outside and smoke them at work. This is back in the late 70s, people. Okay.
yeah.
Well, he'd fall asleep, and we eventually would start messing with him, drawing. Of course, well, this one particular night, he had dicks on his forehead. He had them coming in towards on his cheeks, pointing towards his mouth. All kinds of stuff. I mean, well colored, big hairy balls, the whole 9 yards. The commander showed up at about 5 in the morning
Oh no.
and wanted to do a 3510 inspection on everybody at the shop. Because working mid shift, you don't get messed with. You don't get seen by the head sheds. You know,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
usually the case.
they come in at 7 and you go home at 7. So you're the ghost crew. Nobody ever sees you. Well, the commander showed up and wanted to do an inspection on us. And we're all standing there in line, and he comes, all about 15 or 20 of us. And he's looking, and he comes up to that guy standing there, and goes, "Well, how was your night last night there, Aaron?" "Oh, it's a great night." "Did you have a lot of work last night?" "Oh, I had enough to keep me busy all night." "Oh, really?" "Yes, sir. Had enough to keep me busy all night long. No slacking on my part." "Okay, that's fine. Have a good day, And then went on down the line. Ah, then he comes walking in the shop and somebody points him towards the mirror.
Oh man.
The commander was really cool about it.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
The commander is really cool about it. I mean, he did. It was suggested to us that we would keep the uh, artwork less graphic. We weren't told we couldn't do it anymore, just to let less graphic material.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, and just in case the guy actually did have to go somewhere else on base, didn't want to get him in too much trouble. We didn't. Most of us never went anywhere on base when we got off work. We headed straight home. But
Right.
anyway, but yeah, graphic arts is always the fun thing to do to people. Hey, afternoon, Fury. How you doing today? But yeah, uh, that's one. These new guys now, I talked to these new guys in the service that on the aircraft, and because they got the F-22s out there, and every now and again I'll run into somebody that works on them, and their world, they wouldn't even consider doing that to someone anymore, because too many people would find that offensive. But I mean, hell, they've got pictures of they found carvings by Roman legionnaires. You know, dicks carved into walls and such.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's as old as time itself.
Yeah. So the U.S. military's how, Fury. I wrenched on the best aircraft ever to be made, and still in production, the F-15. Why would I want to step down to a lesser jet after wrenching on the best aircraft made? Now, I actually did try to get on the F-22 program. Like I tried to get on to the what in the hell? Some I love these spam text messages I get. I just got one. Your assistance portal is activated. Search release programs. And then, the standard, no names, just a bunch of numbers for a website, numbers and letters. Yep. No, no, thank you. Not going. I'm not going. You're not going to send me to any spam sites. I don't go to. I don't go to any website that get text messages on unless it's something I asked for. So, yeah, Fury. There's. I tried to get into Space Command when it first popped up, and I was denied by my commander. He was not going to allow me to leave the unit. Because they had to approve. Your commanders had to approve all transfers. So
You are too valuable to let go.
I don't believe that for a
Yeah.
second. Because they sure had no problem replacing me when I retired.
Aww.
That was the if you want to know exactly how important you are to a military unit, put your arm in a bucket of water, pull your arm out, and look for the hole that it left.
Yeah, pretty much.
There is nobody irreplaceable in a military unit.
So the thing of it is, right? When you're the new guy, what you do is you blame everything on the guy you replaced for 6 months.
True.
And then
Yes.
When you're a new account custodian.
Yeah. You just blame everything on the last guy for 6 months. And then when you're getting ready to leave, you just blame everything on the new guy for 6 months. So out of that 2 years you're there, a year of it, yeah, you blame it on somebody else. So, yeah, that's how it works. I mean, yeah, you'll replace so fast and make your head spin.
Were you ever an account custodian of any type? Well, when you worked in supply,
I don't even know what that is. That's probably some
You're
weird
the
Air
guy
Force
that's
thing.
responsible for ensuring that, like working back in clothing supply. You've got to account for every pair of boots that come in. That
I did
you
that
didn't
for
put
the
a
entire freaking ship for
you
$40
didn't
million
put a
worth of
dozen of them
supply
in your car
material.
and take them home with you.
No, I did that for the entire freaking ship.
Okay, then you'll
So
understand this story. When I first took over the security account, and I went in and and of course, you got to account for every item, every piece of classified item and tool, everything else, because you're signing for it. You are the person what be in charge of that. And if anything goes wrong, you're the one that they're going to come and talk to. And there was a couple of items that I was supposed to sign for that couldn't physically locate. And the paperwork said they were supposed to be sitting in the safe, but they weren't. So I refused to sign
No.
the slip for them. I just said, this ain't happening. I'm not signing for them until they're located, and I can put my nasty, dirty little fingerprints on them. because you don't want to sign for something that you ain't got your fingerprints on one way, shape, and or form. Am I right,
Absolutely.
Dar?
Yeah.
You know, it turns out, long story short, because this went on for about 3 or 4 weeks, and this guy, he's wanting to PCS, and he can't leave until somebody signs for these accounts, and it's chewing into his leave time that he wanted to take.
Mm.
Yeah, and it turns out what happened is he broke them, and he didn't want to turn them in for repairs because he didn't want to have to explain how they got broke.
Uh-oh.
And he had the pieces parts hidden. His stay ended up being lengthened by almost 3 years.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, because he ended up being court-martialed.
Yep.
He broke classified equipment and didn't notify anybody. Or classified equipment was broken under his watch, whether he physically did it himself or not,
Right.
and refused to notify anyone. So, and the military takes classified equipment rather seriously. They don't fool around with that kind of crap, especially when it's the stuff that lets other people know that you're the good guy
Oh.
in a combat situation. But yeah, that if anybody learns anything, man, if you're ever becoming an account custodian of something, you got to sign for an account. Make certain you don't sign for nothing that you didn't physically put your own fingerprint on. Don't
Yeah,
ever
Well,
right.
take somebody else's word that it's there.
so one time I'm in Balboa Naval Hospital because I have a broken leg. And, you know, we don't get private rooms or anything. So I'm in this room, and there's
Right.
these two guys. One guy in the bed beside me, and one guy directly across from him. One guy has a gunshot wound to his left leg. The other guy has a gunshot wound to his right leg. I'm looking over there, and I'm like, "What the hell happened to you guys?" And the one dude goes, "I don't want to talk about it." Oh, they're Marines, right? And one dude goes, "I don't want to talk about it." I'm like, "All right, cool, steady, not a problem." So their gunny, right, comes in and says, "You two guys are too stupid to court martial." And I'm like, kind of, like, "Gunny, it's not like I can get up out of here and leave so you can dress these guys down." He goes, "Nope, you can stay for this. I don't care." So what they were doing is they were standing watch on the flight line, right? And they both have, their 45s, loaded 45s. And as they're walking around where they park the airplanes, right? They're walking in opposite directions, and every so often they meet. Well, every time they meet, they play quick draw. And the one
Oh
time,
no.
their guns went off. And they shot each other in the leg.
Oh my god.
Talk about your
Beautiful.
dumbasses.
Ah,
Dumbasses. That was so whenever, so whenever I give guys in the Marine Corps a hard time about being dumb, that's the reason, is that story right there. Because I know Marines in general are very smart people.
okay.
Just not all of
Now,
them.
what we talk about dumb people and dumb and flightline, which for some reason seems to go hand in hand.
Well, it's not always that they're dumb. It's just, you have a lot of young guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're away
Hmm.
from home, and they get bored, and they're not really thinking.
All right. Let's see if here's the picture.
Oh wow. Okay.
All right. I was in the service when this happened. All right. Tell me what you think happened. What caused this to happen?
What happened? Oh,
Somebody
they ran
lost a
over a
bet.
car.
You
Can you
know,
see the picture, Dar?
Yeah,
Okay. That is a security police vehicle, a Sky Cop.
why do I feel
The,
like this whole thing started with one guy saying to another, you know, I bet I could, and then,
and that is parked underneath an F-15 Eagle,
oh my god,
which does not fit.
nope.
Now, I've heard two stories on how this happened. There's one of them that I believe.
Oh, no.
All right. The first story is that the driver fell asleep because he's cruising the ramp at you know
yeah, I don't
10,
believe that one.
10 miles an hour. The other story is that it was two officers in the car. No, two enlisted security cops, sky cops in the car. One male, one female. And the female decided to perform oral sex on the male. And he wasn't, for some reason, paying attention to where he was driving. That's the story I believe. But needless to say, a whole lot of questions got raised. But that EG stands for Eglin Air Force Base,
Yep.
which is up near Fort Walton, Florida.
Yes, it is.
So I of the two stories, I believe the blowjob story myself.
I tend to think that's probably exactly what happened.
But yeah, when you're talking about two cops doing stupid stuff on the flight line.
Well, they weren't cops; they were just Marines. You know, they're from the MA there, and they were just standing their nightly watch, and they were playing quick draw. And well, guess what? They shot each other. Dumbasses.
What?
Dumbasses. It's funny.
You,
It cracks me up. I just They shot each other. Oh my god. Yeah, you see some stupid shit, man. I'll tell you.
yeah, it's always fun watching what the people in the military. We the best and the worst.
Yeah. So, see, the thing is the military is made up of general society. So the same stupidity and weirdos and everything else, you have them in the military too. I mean, it's just it's a very small microcosm of but from all walks of life. Like when I went to boot camp and we were getting our first clothing issue, right?
Right.
And they give us, this our pair of boots, and a couple sets of dungarees and that sort of thing. This one guy was like almost in tears, and I'm like, I said, "What's going on, man?" He goes, "This is the first pair of brand new shoes that nobody's ever worn before me I've ever owned in my life." And his boots were always polished so much better than everybody else's because this was like, for him, this was like a huge deal, right?
Right.
For those of us, we can there was those of us that just couldn't understand that, he's never had shoes that somebody else hasn't worn before. And so you have those people. Then we had this one guy from the Bay Area. He would say the Bay Area, right, is where he was from. He could not
As if
go.
that really means something.
Well, if you know what's in the Bay Area, it does. Um, it's not just San Francisco, right? There's Compton and other places there. And so he couldn't go 2 weeks without committing a crime. He just couldn't do it. He was physically, so he was in boot camp with us for 2 weeks, then committed a crime, got caught, the crime of theft, got caught. So he went back to another unit, another unit behind us for a week, got caught again, and ended up getting mustered out. So
BCD or general?
I have no idea. Don't really care. Um, but, the fact still remains that he just couldn't go without doing something stupid.
Right.
So it's just, and then we had one guy who's from um, Mississippi, right? He was not the best educated man in the world. He wasn't stupid, but he just wasn't well educated, right?
Right.
Um, but he was extremely loyal guy, and extremely good friend. So um, what we would do is we would go out of our way to help him out with the reading, writing, stuff like that, so we could get through. Um, because he's the kind of guy that you want out there, protecting your back. So I mean, so you get all types. You get all types. And then I look at today's military. My nephew's still in, and I have friends that are getting guys that were just starting their military careers when I was in, that I took under my wing, who are now retiring, right? And hearing some of the things they tell me is just absolutely horrifying. It's these, general studies people and, gender studies people and that. And I'm just like, oh my God, do not know how they do it. I really don't. And I'm just glad that, I'm of an age where I don't have to worry about those things. Oh, got quiet.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad I'm at the age where I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff anymore. Uh, like you, I've talked to people that are in now, and I really have a lot of sympathy for. Uh, I've got sympathy for the older guys that came in before the transitions
Yes.
got too bad because they knew what it was like before. They got a taste of the good life, and but so many of them that are coming in now, they never got a chance to taste the good life, what you and I would call the good life, and the and it's so ingrained to them that what it's supposed to be like now, or what it's like now, is being the correct way, that I don't think they would have survived our us and the way we
Right.
acted. I honestly don't believe they could have survived it.
Well, you look at that, right? Because I have friends of mine that were in the Navy before my time, right?
Right.
Um, like in the '60s, and they will tell me that they go, "Well, your time wasn't as cool as ours." Um, and when we say that to the guys that are in now, well, your time's not as cool as ours was. So it's perspective, and things change. But I will say that I think we had the best of times.
The Yeah, well, I mean, like, uh, when you and I came in, we still had people that served during Vietnam
Yeah, we did too.
working.
Yeah,
Okay, and so we got to talk to the Vietnam era troops, and they would talk about what they got away with,
yeah,
but mostly what they got away with, that was done in country, got away with, to where um, they had more important things to worry about than whether or not your boots were properly shined.
yep,
Other one, and that's one thing about military. When the military is in peacetime mode, the uh, the bookkeepers take over.
yes,
Okay, it's just like the bookkeepers take over what's going to go on, because that bookkeeping is the most important thing that there is, making certain that everything adds up. But in time of war, when the stuff's actually hitting the fan, the bookkeepers, they lose it because nobody gives a damn anymore about
yep,
the dotting the i's and crossing the t's. No one cares about that because that doesn't matter like it used to, because you've got other things more important that you're worried about. And right now we are in serious bookkeeping mode.
Well, we're more than just bookkeeping mode because if you look at it, I mean, you just look at the dumb shit Millie and those guys are doing, Austin, and you're just like, how how can you expect? Because basically the job of the military, right, is to go out and enforce our policies, you know, around the world. Um, when because for Desert Chill, Desert Storm, I was out there and floating around the middle of that big giant bathtub called Persian Gulf.
Right.
Um, that was kind of scary, and there were some tense situations at the time. Um, but last thing we were worried about was getting somebody's pronouns right and all that kind of stuff. We didn't really care. Our job was basically, if it flies, it dies. That was our whole objective.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, first of all, when you walk around calling, say, "Yo, hey, asshole, come over here." "Yo, hey, MFer, get over here." "Yo, uh, when when you're not calling people by their names, when you're using that kind of language, you know, pronouns are definitely not anything anybody's worrying about. You know, people's most people's feelings are ignored. You know, um, like I found out my one of the vets that I take my dog to. She worked F-16s, and her and I talked as soon as she realized I was aircraft maintenance, she was aircraft maintenance. Man, the whole language, and I mean, this is a woman in her 40s, late 40s, early 50s, maybe. And she did her 20 years in the Air Force, got out, became a vet. Uh, you know, the whole tone of conversation changed. It slid back to the old flight line
Yep.
style talking. I mean, were we cussing? No, we weren't cussing, but it was no longer that. You just know that there's a change in the whole tenor of the conversation.
Yeah, and you become more comfortable.
Right?
Um,
It's it's a lot more relaxed
yep.
because and I asked her if she still had her ID 10T forms
Yeah.
and, that she hands out to uh, pet owners. And she goes, I never thought of that. I need to make some. I mean, I found a stack of ID 10 forms that we had uh, the other day when I was digging through some boxes in the garage. It's got some of my military junk in them.
Yep.
And we made up ID 10 forms. And anybody's asking what ID 10T form is idiot.
Well, I think most people would figure it out.
So it's like that couple. I've got a couple variations of the butt hurt form. So that I've saved because you you really want to hand them out to people sometimes.
Yep.
You know, show me on this doll where my words hurt you.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
get it. I get it.
it's that I this I don't know if they lack a sense of humor. Uh,
Well, they do. And nothing's fun. Nothing's funny if everything's offensive.
and that thing I have to wonder about, and maybe just getting a little bit on the more serial side here, is the internet responsible for it?
What do you mean? No, no.
Because all these groups of people, they're one or two people in your town start talking to five or six people over in this other town, and all of a sudden you got across the country, maybe 1,000 or so people all of a sudden blowing up the internet over pronouns or over something. And all of a sudden now this becomes a much bigger deal than what it actually is.
See, it's it's a confluence of things, right? So you have the colleges putting out, putting these ideas in people's head. Then they graduate from college. Then you have the mainstream media putting these ideas out into people's heads. And then what makes it even worse is as companies start jumping on, major companies, your IBMs, your Google, and all these really big companies start jumping in. Because the internet, um, Twitter and Facebook and all the social media is a very small microcosm is a microcosm of people, but then it gets amplified there, and people who are new to this stuff, they see this and they just like, oh, so but it's more than just the internet. It's all these other things as well, and um, because it was starting, MSM, right? The lamestream media um, was putting that message out there, and it was getting wide dis, wide distribution. But things really didn't take hold till the major corporations started getting into it as well. And then it was like, when you have corporate America, enforcing these rules on everybody, it just gets silly.
But like Sean says here, if it weren't for the internet, we wouldn't have Tumblr, we wouldn't have TikTok, we wouldn't have all these people putting all this crap out there. Um, that
And that is true.
Jeffrey Marsh uh, guy, that the trans activist, the real skinny guy that set up his own patronage page just for children where they can talk without their parents being involved
Yeah.
or having access. Pre Tumblr, pre TikTok, that guy would be a nobody.
Oh yeah, big time.
He'd just be the local pervert that everybody warned their kids about. But now, thanks to the internet, thanks to TikTok and Tumblr and such, he's a he's a celebrity.
Well, he gets a much wider audience, true, but it's not the point I was making is it's not just the internet. It's yeah, the internet helps, but it's confluence of things. Where do you think these like older Karens and stuff get this thing from? It's not like they're out on the internet. They are getting it from the mainstream media as well as Facebook, right? Because let's face it, most of the people on Facebook now are over 50.
Um, okay. Um, well, that's true. It's like that. I don't know if you saw that story about this woman here in Florida. Um, she's looking for a private school to send her 10-year-old trans boy child to,
Yeah.
where he have his uh, uh, what mental issues catered to, which under the new rules for schools he in Florida they wouldn't be. So she's trying. She's put out there. Look, got GoFundMe to pay to send her kid to a private school,
Yeah. And
and
she will probably get the money.
oh, she'll get hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know, $1 at a time, $10, but she'll get hundreds of thousands of bucks.
Won't get any from me, but that's all right. It's up to
Yeah.
her.
Uh, oh, okay. Did you read Furry's thing?
No.
The interwebs has allowed passive aggressive, narcissistic tards platforms to promote themselves. 99.5 laugh at them, but the problem is that people listen to the point 0.5.
Yep.
But
And so there's still a lot of people out there, believe it or not, who think, well, I read this on the internet. It's got to be true. There are still people
yeah,
that do that.
yeah, if it's out there on the internet, nobody lies on the internet. And then, or they, well, they go to Snopes and they get all their facts from Snopes.
Yeah, from Snopes. Yeah.
Now, I can remember when Snopes actually was a decent place to get fact checking. And especially on anything that wasn't political
Right.
but I mean, it's been so long since I've willingly gone to Snopes that because I used to go there quite a bit to fact check things, but I don't anymore. I haven't used them in probably about 5 or 6 years.
Well,
God,
it's been
has it
longer than that
really?
for me.
It probably has been longer than that because it's back during the Obama administration is when I finally quit going to Snopes. Obama's first administration. So yeah, God damn that I'm getting. Is this making me old or what? For making me sound like I'm old or something? I don't know.
Ah.
I'm a 15-year-old lesbian. Fury, for some reason, I doubt that. We're going to have to get you on stream one day, Fury. Oh, don't even get me started on the SPLC. We don't have enough time today to do anything about the SPLC. I've got an entire folder
Oh, the
full of crap.
Southern
Poverty Law
Poverty
Center.
Law Center. Yeah, those bunch of.
And the shame about it is when Meek started them, he really did it for good reasons.
Yeah,
And
he had good intentions.
And he did a lot of good at first.
Yeah.
The country is a better place because of what the SPLC did in its early years, very early years. But now, I mean, when they're responsible for people going in and shooting people at the Family Research Center, the
Yeah.
SRC, over nonsense. No, that I don't know. One of these days, I may do a stream about the SPLC. It's early days on up.
Yeah.
Well, then, I mean, it's like the ACLU used to actually be a good organization.
Yeah, they used to do a lot of good for a lot of folks, but that's long since been.
Yeah,
They've been
what
corrupted and. Yeah, they've
they,
been. Go ahead.
yeah, you're just right. They let personal politics interfere with what they're and take over instead of what the companies or what the agenda was supposed to be
Yeah,
all
the
about.
original organization has lost their way.
Right. Um,
No, I totally get that. It's.
the, I mean, when they actually stood up for Nazis, because it was a freedom of speech thing.
Yep.
So, and now they won't even stand up. Now, back when they actually stood up for anything of, especially in the Bill of Rights. If it was in the Bill of Rights, they actually stood up for it hardcore. This is what the Constitution says. Now they've got, oh no, we're not even going to look at the Second Amendment. That don't exist as far as we're concerned. So that's a whole nother issue now. Um, had another stream taken down.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, somebody complained about it.
Which one was that?
It's from 2 weeks ago. So I don't know what it was I said, but I said something somebody didn't like. So I've now got 7 streams that have been taken down since 2019 when I started streaming. So that what I'm now doing though is um, I'm using I'm just downloading all my streams and saving them to a hard drive. And that way something gets pulled down, I can re-upload it onto Rumble.
Yeah.
So that, you know, and because this and because now they're starting to pull down, not on me, but talk to a couple other people. YouTube is pulling down streams even before it takes them a few hours before you can download off of YouTube when you go to your channel side,
Yeah.
controlling managing your content. So I am actually checking my StreamYards. I think I can download it quicker off my StreamYards software. So
Probably can.
So that's why I'm starting, because I never worried about, because you can only keep 50 hours worth of stuff on StreamYards
Right.
unless you pay. So what I've done is I went and started downloading I'm downloading everything off of StreamYards. I've got 20 some hours worth downloaded now. I'll download the rest and then keep that clean, and then as stuff goes on there, I will download that and put it over to the side. That way, if plus I'm re-uploading anyway everything I can to Rumble. But anyway, let's see here. You're a proud Brit, yep, and I don't understand why people have to apologize for being a nationalist. I don't understand why. Hell yes, I'm a nationalist. I believe that the United States government should be looking out for the United States people first and foremost, U.S. citizens. Just like the British government should be looking out for the British citizens first and foremost, beyond anything else. Not worrying about refugees from Rwanda or Nepal or any place else. What is good for the U.S. citizen? What is good for the U.S.? What is good for the British Britain? The British government should be same way. What's good for the British citizen? What is good for the country of England? First and foremost, not worry about what's good for some refugee from some other country. It's not our job to look out for other countries ahead of our own people. You're
Totally
exactly
agree.
right.
Well,
It's not my fault that you're wrong. I, why would anybody put someone else's country ahead of their own? The concerns of another country ahead of your own. The concerns of another house ahead of your own.
Well, these are the global elites, and you're talking the difference between populism and globalism. And the reason why you have to apologize for being a nationalist, right, is because the Nazis were the Nationalist Party of Germany. So people who don't understand what words mean, and there's a reason they don't understand it, is because we keep changing the meanings of words. Don't know the difference between Nazi and nationalist, right? And they don't understand that, globalism is a bad thing. We had a taste of what globalism brings us during COVID, when you couldn't get anything because all the ships were stuck off the coast of California and the coast of New York. Um, and that's what it really boils down to right now. And the reason why they're more worried about the refugees coming from the southern border and all that is because it's part of the globalism thing. So if you have a country, the easiest way to take it over from inside is to replace the population. You get enough people here who don't understand the Bill of Rights and the Constitution and that, you can tell them anything and they'll say, well, you're the one that helped me out, got me out of that hell I used to live in, so I'll vote for you. And so you watch. The next thing we're going to try to do is, these, 7 million people or so that we brought in the last year. The next thing I'm going to do is try to get them all made citizens. There'll be this amnesty thing. You watch. That's what's coming next.
Oh yeah,
Because the globalists don't want to give up their power. And if you have all these nationalities spread out all over every place else, right? And borders become useless and meaningless because, like in the EU, right? They have open borders. So if you live in Germany, you can go live in any other country you want to in the EU. You don't have to get permission to cross the border. You can, as a matter of fact, they'll tell you as an American citizen when you go overseas that you don't need your passport to cross from, Germany into France or um, from Italy into Germany. You don't need your passport to cross over. Because remember back in the old days when you used to have to get a stamp every time you wanted to cross a border.
well, you had to have your or when I was active duty, you had to have my armed forces agreement with me.
Well, even then, you still a lot of countries. If you wanted to go, you still had to have a passport and get a stamp, even if you had, military ID and all that. You still had to do it. But now it's like, yeah, no, we don't do that anymore. That's silly. So it's part of the globalization.
I don't even know what happened to my armed forces agreement paperwork I had when
Um,
I was over
I,
there. I probably turned it in when I PCS'd out. I probably had to turn it over to them.
they never gave us paperwork. I just want because but we did. A lot of us did have our passports because we wanted. When we pulled into Singapore, we wanted to cross over into Malaysia, and you had to
See,
have
I
passport to
never
do that.
had one. I've never had a
So
passport. 'Cause when I was in Europe, everywhere I went, I either went under orders and was flown in on military aircraft, or I went places where, France, Luxembourg, Liechtenstein, Holland, all places where the Armed Forces Agreement and my military ID was all I needed. So, God, I miss visiting Europe back. the way it was back in the 80s. Uh, I'm sure it's changed so much now. I wouldn't, the places I really went to and enjoyed. Um, Before we wind this up, I know you saw that video. I posted it yesterday, and you retweeted it. Uh, let's see here. Oh, what comments did you have on this woman?
Personally want to
Oh, the weirdo.
hear from the former president, but honestly, I kind of wanted to subpoena the former president because I got to swear everybody in. And so I thought it'd be really cool to get 60 seconds with President Trump of me looking at him and being like, "Do you solemnly swear?" And me getting to swear him in. I kind of just thought that would be an awesome moment. Personally, want to hear from the.
This was the head of the grand jury in Georgia.
Yep.
Now, a lot's come out about her since this interview's been released. She has an Etsy store selling Wiccan stuff. She's one of these women that goes out and gets naked and dances under the full moonlight.
Yep.
But this right here is enough to tell you that grand jury was not about trying to get to the truth.
No, it wasn't. And, in any case that they might try to bring or anything now is going to be completely tainted because she was, went on her media tour.
I've never heard of grand jury members going out and doing this kind of stuff before.
Well, because they never have until after the grand jury's over. But she sees her, moment in the spotlight and all that kind of thing. So, and she admits that she's only doing it for monetary gain. And she's stupid and crazy and probably tweaking a little bit. Who knows?
But this
yeah,
is the head
all
of the
bullshit.
grand jury.
Yeah.
What's the rest of the grand jury like?
Yeah, because they chose her to be the lead person.
Right.
Because, you have to vote on that. And, most grand juries.
Well, I've never been on a grand jury, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah. But most grand juries don't even know what they're there for or what they're supposed to be doing. They sit and listen. Then, do their little vote thing and all that. So most of the time, a grand jury is kind of useless. A lot of times they're not doing what they're supposed to do. So I don't really have a lot of faith in. But yeah, so she's just exposing the stupidity of it all.
I saw that and I was like, oh my God. She acts like a high schooler or a junior high schooler.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the way she ducked her head there, do you promise to tell the truth? It's like,
yeah.
Huh? The woman is like you said, there's no way anybody could trust what comes out of this grand jury as being serious.
Yeah.
There's no way. Now the left's going to trust it as being serious, of course. They're because it fills their little bubble.
Yeah, it fits her narrative.
Yeah. But I mean, if you want to convince me that Trump did something wrong and you want to put her out there as the spokesman to convince me that Trump did something wrong, if that's the best you got, sorry, you're not going to convince me. You're not going to convince me to change my mind whatsoever.
Not even close.
So, it's creeping up on 11 o'clock here, and you need to get back to work.
Yep.
So, Ramen, come on back over and give us your word. Get ready, to give us your words of wisdom. But what you got for us, Darrell, as we head out the door?
Oh, I got nothing. I
You
really
got
got nothing
nothing.
today. Yeah.
Okay. Remember, you and tomorrow's Friday fun stream will be hosted by either Ramen or Dar. I will be sitting in a waiting room waiting for my wife to come out of surgery. So,
Yeah. So pay attention. Pay attention to Twitter.
so
That we'll put it out before.
uh, congratulations, Fury. Landed a 8 to 4 9-month contract doing nothing physical. That's wonderful. So, Ramen, you got anything to say before we head out the door here, Darrell?
I got nothing. Just have a good weekend, everybody.
Okay. All right. And I've just got my usual, everybody. Please be with the ones you love and love the ones that you're with. And have a good evening.